All right. Hey, boys and girls, hustlers and champions all over the world. I am so excited you are here. There's this whole concept that every kid has to get a ribbon for participation. And we're in a society where people cry because their boss looked at them the wrong way. Are we teaching people the right things, which is that everyone should get the medal, or is it okay to fail? So my guest today, Brandon Steiner, is an incredible keynote speaker. He's a best-selling author. He's an amazing entrepreneur. I'll be bringing him out in just a minute. Couple of quick announcements. Number one, I do free business coaching every month. That's right. Self-made millionaire, mother of 5, CEO of 2 companies, tech investor. You get to work with me for free. There are no strings attached. Well, there's one. You have to go to susansly.com, get on the list. Only people on the list get the invitation. And we cover topics like investing, marketing. You get free mentorship. It's so cool. So check it out, www.susansly.com. I am starting a Finish the Year Strong challenge. How many of you have ever had an idea that you started, but you never finished? That's a lot of people. In fact, it's the majority of people. So this 30-day challenge has a series of daily challenges to help you grow your business. You're going to want to check it out. Again, get on the list at susansly.com. It's so easy. So easy. All right, my hustlers, let's get the party started. I want to formally introduce my guest today. He published his first book, The Business Playbook, Leadership Lessons from the World of Sports, in 2003. He has spoken at, check this out, the Harvard Business School, Kellogg School of Business, Columbia, and Yale. Oh my gosh, he has serendipitously become a national, just best loved motivational speaker because he tells it like it is. He's constantly invited to speak at Fortune 500 companies. And in 2012, Wiley & Sons published Brandon's second book, You Gotta Have Balls: How a Kid from Brooklyn Started from Scratch, Bought Yankee Stadium, and Created a Sports Empire. He has been a recurring guest on the show. I know you guys love him. Let's dive right in. So Brandon, thank you for being here today. I'm so excited to talk to you. We need to catch up.
Susan, I love you. And for all the grinders out there, my third book, Living on Purpose. If you want anything, just go to my website and you'll see everything you need. And Living on Purpose, I think, is my best book out of the 3. And I'll tell you something. Today I wrote a blog that had 15 of the most important things using the 4-letter word. I know what you're thinking. Stop. One thing you need to stop doing that enable you and give you the time to start doing. And a lot of people thinking, they're all thinking about, here's what I got to do. Here's the next. No. What you need to do is stop. Stop trying to be someone else. Stop overthinking it. Start overdoing it. It's kind of my mantra this month. Like, stop overthinking it, start overdoing it, and get up off your butt, do something. But something, you got to go to the mental gym first. I know you're big on physically being in great shape, sleeping great, eating great, but I'm all about also going to the mental gym. Like, get your mindset right, get your story straight, and sometimes you need to go work that out. Because it's not just a simple little quick conversation you're going to have with yourself. It may take a little bit of time to kind of work it out. So I've been to the mental gym over the last 3 months, more than I like to admit, because I'm coming off of a back, just kind of a crisis and a reset, and you really don't know on any given day when things are going to change. The question is, what kind of shape are you in mentally and physically to adopt to the pressure and the situation you're in. And Susan, one thing I'll tell you for sure, and I know you will agree, is that we are, as humans, the real main advantage we have over everything else is that we can adapt. We can move and deal with pressure. We can go and do what we need to do if our mind is telling us to do it. It's amazing how far we can push ourselves. So I know that sometimes the grind and that just the hill in front of us just seems so deep and so hard to climb. But we were meant for that. And the only time you're ever going to get anywhere is if you don't have that steep hill to climb. So that's kind of where my head's at these days.
I love it. You are freaking on fire. So, what you're known for is just being direct. And so you mentioned the mental gym. When someone goes to the gym, the only way a muscle is going to grow is by putting it under stress, right? So if you go to the gym and you're like, well, you see those people at the gym and they're not really doing anything. They're talking, walking around. But when you start lifting the weights, you do the intervals, that's how the muscles grow. The mental gym. So tell everyone about the mental gym you went through the last 3 months, whatever details you want to share, but even just mentally, what happened and how you've come out stronger.
Well, I haven't talked much about this, so this will be the first. And, May 31st, I got fired from a company and industry that I built. And the company that I had sold 20 years ago got sold out from underneath me to a competitor. So it's devastating, frankly. But, at the end, what it really was a blessing, because if you really want to accomplish something, and I've accomplished a lot in the sports business, you do need to figure out how to put yourself under stress. You need to be hostile. And now I've got a whole bunch of people that have now said, Brandon, you can't do it. You're done. Your ideas are behind you, all that stuff. And then when you start compiling all the people that said you couldn't do it, Mrs. Saunders, my guidance counselor, told me I couldn't go to college. The rabbi's son who told me I was a street bum because I wasn't wearing any clothes that were really nice, so I couldn't afford them. All the people that made fun of me because I had a speech impediment, and we've all got those list of people that really were the naysayers, the ones that question you. You got to have a list of that on your mirror, because that's the stuff that should make you hostile. Because if you're not hostile and you're not, putting immense pressure on yourself with a chip on your shoulder, you're probably not going to get much done. And mostly everything good that's going to happen for you always starts with something bad anyway. Mm-hmm. Not everything, but mostly. I remember, it's not many of the best things that's happened to me didn't start off with something bad. And so, I've recognized my hostility back. I welcomed it back. And also at the same time, I love the underdog role as I start the Steiner agency and a new company I'm about to launch in the middle of November, which will be a complete game changer and disruption in the entire collectible industry, as far as not only here in the US, but worldwide. So excited, come jumping out of my skin, frankly. And, listen, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think when you go through these processes, I'm excited, but, there are moments where, if you're a true entrepreneur, what I'm talking about is, you're in depression, you're crying. I've had mornings where I get on my treadmill, I'm working out, and I'm trying to departmentalize this. I'm trying to put it together, because what I'm thinking about is not what anybody knows or has seen. But faith is something is so important to incorporate into your entrepreneurial process. So it's something that you believe in, but you can't see it. So it can be very upsetting, Susan, like when you're trying to put something together that can work, you can't see it. God knows the people you're going to eventually sell it to or coordinate with can't see it. And it gets frustrating and it's emotional. But when it all does come together, and if you talk to entrepreneurs that have done some amazing, exciting things, they'll tell you about the frustration and the levels of darkness that you have to go into in order to come out with something really special. So, entrepreneurship is a lot of fun, but it's also could be dark. And that's kind of where I've been the last few months. And now I'm in that position. This is actually one of the first interviews I've done since May, talking about the comeback, obviously much bigger than the setback. I've got all the different quotes that everybody has sent me about all these motivational things, but it really does come down to you and really about, what's your mindset like and whether you can get hostile or not. And whether you can go put together a group of people around you that you can share your vision with. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It doesn't have to be that big. Be surprised how some small groups have done a lot of damage, as now I've had a few months to sit back and really think. And that's been amazing as I go around the country and speak. The learning now, because, you don't have your mind filled with so many distractions as I was running, a pretty big company. It's amazing what you can see. It's amazing what you can realize. And I really do challenge people that it is important to have energy and urgency, but it's also important to be able to stop and actually see who and what's important. And then you can get a better perspective sometimes about, maybe mistakes you've made, because no matter how bad something, and listen, I think what happened to me was terrible, but it's a lot of learning, and you gotta own up on the learning part. No matter what's happening, no matter how bad not how bad your cards look, you got to take responsibility for some of those cards you've been dealt. It doesn't mean that something bad you deserved it, but you probably have some level of responsibility to the cards that were dealt to you, and you want to make sure you thoroughly go through that in order to move forward cleanly. And that's not easy, because that usually means looking in the mirror and really starting to question some of the stuff that you did or the decisions you made, and so you don't want to make that same stupid mistake again.
Yeah, that whole concept of, one of the things I always say when I'm speaking is, in the face of challenge, you can give up or you can get better. Never discount the kid. You and I share some similarities. We both grew up in poverty. You were on food stamps. We've talked about the story where when I was young, I was so poor. I went to the grocery store. I was so hungry with Monopoly money, and the cashier laughed at me. And then another cashier, the head cashier, came along and gave me a loaf of bread because I was hungry, and don't discount the kid who's been bullied. Don't discount the kid who's had to, our friend Terry Slodine, get scrappy. Don't discount that kid. And I'm also hearing too that there is a modicum of faith. It's like, okay, God, well, this happened. No, it's not fair, but this is a setup for something even bigger. Getting fired from your own company. I mean, it happened to Steve Jobs, right?
It's devastating, especially when the company has your name and your legacy. It's an industry you built, and you're on the radar. But for me, it's been a blessing, and I know that. I know life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. And I think that it's tough. It's a tough hill to climb initially. It's hard. On the other hand, name me anything great that's happened for you that didn't start off hard. So I'm excited about the opportunity. When I look at everything, there's people say, Brandon, like, what's the key here? I think we're all pretty ordinary. I mean, I think the key is I just woke up one morning. I was like, I'm not going to be ordinary. No way I'm accepting ordinary. And then I had a mother that was like, ordinary. Like, I don't even think success is acceptable. Like, who wants to be successful? Why would you settle for that? I mean, there's a million successful people. Nobody even remembers successful people. People remember extraordinary people, people that are significant, that have had an impact on our community, on our world, on other people. And that's not all that complicated. I always say, like, if Bill Gates was lazy, Warren Buffett was lazy, he wouldn't be that wealthy, he wouldn't be that successful. So to me, I think it's about figuring it out. Yeah, you have to have energy. You want to have a work ethic. But I think the difference maker to me is when I look for people, because now, I'm starting these new companies, I'm doing a lot of interviewing. I'm picking out logo colors, office chairs. I mean, stuff I hadn't been into in a long time. It's so much fun. Like, every little thing, But it's like the question really is, are you somebody that can figure it out? Or do you get to a certain point on the road and you're a little lost and you go home and you go, I can't find it. Hey, you figure it out. I remember, I'll give you a quick story. My son walks into my bedroom and wakes me up and says, Dad, can you take me to school? I wake up, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He says, well, Mom had to leave early. Could you give me a ride to school? I said, are you crazy? Do I look like a limo driver, a cab driver? Get out of my room. You're nuts. Walk to school. And he says, Dad, I'm 9. I said, listen, Crosby, at the end of the day, there's not going to always be somebody here to help you because you now had a diversion when something couldn't happen. You got to figure it out. Call one of your friends. You're going all these play dates. You know the kids that you're friendly with. Call one of them. Call one of the moms and see if you can I have a ride. Figure it out. You got 2 feet. Walk to school. He goes, Dad, that's 2 miles. I said, listen, at the end of the day, you're going to come wake me up. Wake me up with Dad. Is there something I can help you with after school today? Is there something I could do? What value are you providing me? All it is, you're asking me. And I said, at the end of the day, Crosby, you're going to be faced with a lot of challenges. The goal is, can you figure it out? Not just keep asking and expecting people to do stuff for you and expecting other people to be there for you. What value are you providing to those people will make sure and enable that those people are always there for you. Now, that's a valuable lesson for a 9-year-old. I'm not sure that was a great idea in my 9-year-old that hard at 7 o'clock in the morning, but think about it. It's like if you have the ability to figure stuff out, whether bringing the monopoly money, whatever it is, that's somebody who's trying to figure it out. And I think those are the most valuable employees and those valuable people. And those people are on the road to extraordinary.
The figuring it out, bringing that up, it leads me to the next point. I was at dinner last night with Steve Wozniak. So Woz was there, and here's someone who figured it out. He didn't have formal training in any of the things he built, but he was talking about the first game he built for Atari. So he signs this contract for Atari, and they give him 4 days to create this game, and it was called Breakthrough or Breakout or something. I remember playing this game, and he stayed out for 4 days and he figured it out. And the same thing when he went to work with Steve Jobs. And so Woz brought up this point, and there was at the dinner I was at, there were a couple of panels with these founders, and as all my listeners know, I'm building Radius AI, and we just finished our multi-million-dollar funding round, and we're going to Series A. We've got contracts signed, and I'm hustling. I'm CEO of 2 companies, but that's what you do. And it leads me to this next point. One of the people on stage, Brandon, said, we're coddling kids. We're not teaching them to fail. And if they think that every time they try, they're going to get a participation award or some kind of medal just for trying, what are we setting them up for? What would you say to that?
I've heard that before, and listen, I'm a very competitive, so I'm not one of the big giving a lot of trophies, but it's the same thing. Like you go into a restaurant, and immediately they put a basket of bread down. If you don't tell your kids, some you don't need that bread. What are you going to bother with that bread for? Then, to me, it's more explaining to kids that, listen, if you're lucky enough and you worked hard enough to win, then there's prizes that are involved. There's different benefits to that. If you don't, you don't. And I think it's more about showing kids and really breaking it down for them so that when you are able to win, it's not the end all. But it's the understanding of what competition is all about. Just like I don't think that making $1 trillion is the end all. But if you can figure out how to win the game in business and make a lot of money, or help a lot of people, great. But the process in doing so, that's got to be the focal point. So like even when I have Little League, when I coach Little League, and I took that very seriously, won 3 championships in a row. And I never played baseball, but I learned how to coach Little League. And at the end of the day, all the kids wanted to pitch and catch and play the infield. So what I did is I started every practice, the first half hour, with outfield practice. Most coaches, they go in practice and Little League practice, and everything's the infield, the ground balls and hitting practice. No, there's no batting practice, no infields. All are fly balls out in the outfield, and then everything is relay exercises. So I put the emphasis on that. And now I have kids asking me, Coach, can I play the outfield? And I think it goes back to the trophies and everything. It's like, listen, I don't want to tell kids anything other than you don't want a trophy. Why would you want a trophy to remember an experience where you didn't accomplish what you set out to do? And that would be my message to the kids. Like, we don't want a trophy unless we win the whole darn thing. That's how I feel about it. It's like, and I love winning. I still play basketball on my Sunday game. I'm walking off the court on a loss. I'm not good. And I tell the guy playing next to me, do me a favor, stay home next week if you're going to play like that. And he's like, Brandon, we're 60. I said, exactly. I'm still trying to win. It's not a career choice to win. And I tell my kids when I coach Little League, it's not a Little League choice to win. It's a life choice. You decide, do you want to be the person who wants to compete and wants to win, or are you just going to play the results as they come? To me, and it's amazing how many times, I go play basketball with other, 40, 50-year-old guys, and they're like, well, we're older, we're just happy to play. I'm grateful to play. I still want to win. And if you don't want to win, definitely get on another court. Please don't play on my team. I like winning because it's a life choice that I've made regardless of what I'm doing. If I right now played you in checkers, Susan, I'd show you no mercy. I'd be trying to whip your butt in checkers. And it's not because I'm a mean person or anything else. Why would I play a game if I wasn't trying to win? Now, I would probably study how to play checkers if I was playing against you, knowing you're probably a good checker player. and I want to put the work in. So if I got to show up for a checker tournament, I want to make sure that I know every angle of what to do with every move. So, and that's where I put the emphasis with the kids. Like, we'd be practicing, and I'm like, this is when you practice this hard, we now have a chance to maybe win. If we don't practice real hard, then we didn't deserve to win, and then I don't want to give out trophies. So, listen, there's a different world out there, and I think kids have other pressures. So I understand why parents feel like, oh, wow, we got to take it easy someplace, because there is a lot of pressure on kids today. We had pressures when I was a kid, and then kids today have a different set of pressures. I don't think anybody gets a free ride. And I think because kids are with phones and they're playing a lot of Sony PlayStation, Game Boy stuff, and they think the kids have it easier, maybe because they're not in the parks, they're not doing certain things that we did. But, the kids have their own set of pressures. There's a different agenda out there. I really try to hang out with as many 17, 18, 19-year-olds as I can. To understand what's going on. I don't think there's a generation gap, only if you want there to be one. My wife thinks I'm crazy because I have two-way mentoring, and I keep a bunch of 17, 18, 19-year-olds on my speed dial. They come over the house, we hang out. My wife's like, where are you going? I'm going to the diner. It's 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. These kids are hungry. That's what we do at 11. And that's when I'm getting the learning, and they're showing me what's going on. I'm learning about apps and different ways that they get information, different things that are going on. And you don't realize, if you don't stay current with that stuff, how fast you can move away. So, if we're giving away a few too many trophies, so be it. I don't think that's going to be the make and end all with the kids. I think there's a lot of pressure now in other areas with some of the youth that I'm more focused and concerned with. Personal contact, talking. I'm in an office now with 200 people. We have an office in the city, and there's like no talking. That's a concern of mine. Trophy. I'm like, how about talking? And there's so much communication like this with the texting, and it's good communication. I always say not all communication is equal, but hey, we cannot ever push aside human conversation, getting together with a client, breaking bread, calling somebody just to see how they are, not just a couple on text. And I think that's a bigger concern I have right now with our youth, is that I wish that the phone call got invented recently and all the social media got invented 50 or 100 years ago, because the kids would be running around going, can you believe they invented this thing? We can actually talk to each other. And now I think they take that for granted, because you think about that's an incredible invention. Not as good as having wheels on a suitcase, though. I mean, if you think about how many years we had suitcases without wheels on the bottom of them, what took us so long? So I still have hope that there's going to be, we're going to bring back the business lunch and the business face-to-face meeting. I still have faith in that, but I'm hoping that our youth understand the importance of breaking bread.
Is that the art of networking? It is an art. Last night, so imagine at this event, there's probably, 1,000 people there sitting at this table. I was the only one to get up and go all around the table. What's your name? I'm Susan, talk. And I end up, the guy I'm sitting next to was the mentor of the venture that won. So it was a competition. It went from 90 startups down to 9. His venture won. It turns out we knew all these people in common. He's originally from New York, huge Yankees fan. I said, do you know Brandon Steiner? He goes, I freaking love Brandon Steiner. I love that guy's no nonsense. I read his book. It's those types of, I said, I'm interviewing Brandon on my show tomorrow. He's like, when the show comes out, I used to be in media. Let me see it. I'll promote it. All that kind of stuff. How can you add value to others? How can you build those relationships? I work now with all these tech guys, and it's so funny. They're like, remember the Life cereal commercial? Mike, you'll lead it. It's like, oh, there's a networking event. Susan will do it. Oh, this client needs to build a relationship. Susan will do it. And because they sit in a room trying to solve problems, messaging people back and forth, slacking like crazy, but that human contact, to your point, if you've never had to figure something out because you're either a roof over your head, I've been homeless, was relying on it, or you wouldn't have food in your stomach, that you don't have to have that kind of pressure to be successful in business. But if you can't figure something out on a timeline, to your point, and you can't pick up the phone and call someone. To your point about two-way mentoring, I hang out with a lot of 20-year-olds thanks to my daughter Avery. You know, one of her friends is he has the biggest most watched YouTube channel in the automotive space. This kid hustles like crazy, makes over $1 million a year since the age of 16. And I'm always learning. But if you don't have those people that can help you out when your back's against the wall, like Harvey McKay, our mentor, says, you know, I don't know how you're going to function in business, right? I just don't.
I don't either. But I think it is important, and not to overplay it, but I think it is important when you look at networking. I don't think you can put a value of meeting enough people and not having a lot of likes. Listen, I have 1.2 million Facebook likes. I'm very proud of my likes, and I'm trying to get to 1.3 million. But I'm also, I started this when I was 20, and well into college, about just trying to make one friend at a time. That's a real friend that I know. And you know, I think that most people that are able to get to a certain level that is certain about relationships. And I think for me, I'm still going on my social. I'm still taking a customer complaint call, and I'm still trying to win one friend, make one friend, and win one customer at a time. Even, you know, I'll stand in front of my store. I'll stand at one person at a time. But you know, all of a sudden you turn up. I'm 60 now. I'm like, man, I made a lot of friends. And when I went through this transition, what was really gratifying is the amount of people that reached out to me was unbelievable. Because I was like afraid, I'm like, oh man, I'm done. Nobody even cares. I'm like, whoa. I mean, hundreds and thousands of customers. I mean, I've never reached out to a company to thank the CEO for all the stuff he did or she did at the company. I mean, people are emailing me, Brandon, thank you. You brought so much joy into my house, the stuff I did with your company, with my kids and this. I mean, it's boggling to me that, you know, I'm supposed to be thanking them. And so I think that, you know, you're building your brand, and I try to strive with all the books I've written, how important it is to build your brand and to take the time. And I think that a lot of times the money grab and a lot of times some of the small things of distraction get in the way of you being who you really are. Because I think that's really, it's not that complicated, you know, staying who you really are, knowing who you really are, and showing who you really are is really what it's all about. And I think people appreciate that, the true honesty of it. I mean, I still think I'm the same kid that I was when I was 17. You know, I don't think I'm that affected with a little this and a little that. And I think that is what I strongly recommend in the light of failure, in the light of maybe a setback or whatever it is. It's like, stay who you are, know who you are, show who you are. People appreciate it because a lot of people are hiding behind a lot of that social media in an effort to avoid showing who you really are, your vulnerability. And believe me, I'm going to talk about the whole process. I'm just digesting it of all the stuff that happened in the last 3 months. You know, the people that were not honest with me, not straightforward and you know, all the things that happen. So, you know, I want people to learn. And more importantly, if you're a little bit older, you know, not to age out, to you want to be able to walk out of situations on your own terms. And I think when you build your own brand and people have faith and confidence in knowing who you are, you always have the strength to do what you want to do on your terms or stop doing what you want to do on your terms. And I think it's a difference maker. And that's, I feel, when I look back over the last 4 months, it's been the difference maker for me.
It's huge. There's your book title right there. Stay, show, and be who you really are. You know, lessons learned getting fired from my own company.
Made that up, but it's true. Or stop overthinking and start overdoing it. Because I just can't too many people just with all the analytics. I mean, listen, we had analytics when I was a kid, okay? They were called tendencies. You know, I knew generally when my mother was in a good mood or a bad mood. I needed the analytics of, you know, on Thursday she was in a bad mood. I knew the general gist when a good time to approach a teacher. And believe me, I like the analytics and I like the numbers, but there's something to be said about tendencies and understanding how people operate, because the human element of it always comes through. Yeah, there's a tendency that this particular customer buys a certain amount of things, blah, blah, blah. But I guarantee you, if that customer's husband all of a sudden gets laid off and all of a sudden the kid goes away to school, those tendencies are going to change. to show up in the analytics. So, I mean, you got to, hopefully see the people that are closest to you that you're dealing with and understand who they are and try to figure out who they are. That's the best networking. And that's what I've been having fun doing, not only the last few months, but particularly the last 4 or 5 years, is not trying to meet more people, but trying to get to know the ones I already know.
That's beautiful. How important is it to surround yourself with the right team? Because we hear that all the time.
Well, I think it's critical. I mean, talent acquisition is probably the hardest, and even customer acquisition. You talk about surrounding yourself with the right team. Put yourself around a couple of crappy clients. I mean, is there anything worse? We're dealing with one right now. I want to shoot myself. And we're going to make some good money on it, but it's like, it's the worst. And I pointed out to all my people, I said, this is what happens when you have a crappy client. We're going to have a shitstorming day for like 5 days because we have to deal with this crappy client. We'll make some money, but it's never going to be good enough. And what's scary when you're running something is when you have crappy clients is that you lose employees, you lose really good people because they get burnt out, they get tired, they get disappointed, they get frustrated. So getting back to, having the right people around you, talent acquisition is so important, but yet so hard these days because people, again, you're doing a lot more Skype interviewing. You're looking at resumes that aren't necessarily true. And it's hard to go fact check people to see who they really are because, you're not really allowed to say much. So you really got to do it's really a risky proposition. And what I recommend and what I'm doing is I'm just going to spend a lot of time with my people that I've just hired at the beginning stages to make sure that they are who they say they are. Because there really isn't any shortcut. There's a risk. I mean, you're hiring a bunch of people and some of them are just not who they say they are. And it's just the way it is. There's not much you can do to avoid it. But I think what's important is to have a few people that will tell you the truth. They may not be maybe they're not the most aggressive. They're not the greatest salespeople, but they will tell you the truth. They will look you in the eye. They won't fear you to tell you what they see and what they know. And that's critical to have that accountability type person or two around you. Most of the really successful people I know have that one or two people around them to make sure that there is no filter and they'll tell them everything. But, I don't think you can hire, good enough people. But, one of the things that Gary Vee, I'm a big Gary Vee fan. And one of the things he talks a lot about is like, how much did you expect from the people around you? Also, like, how can you take care of the people around you? There's what you expect, but then there's what you can give. And it's tricky. It's hard. That's hard too. So, one of the things you want to figure out is, I want loyal, hardworking, figure it out, high energy people, but also what can I deliver back to them to inspire them to be that way and stay that way? And that's definitely another difficult task. So, I definitely have spent a lot of time looking at organizations that have had employees stay a long time and trying to find out why. Why are you in this company a long time? What is it? Is it that you can get to bring your dog? I doubt it. Is it because you get free food all day? I doubt it. Is it the free lunch on Fridays with bagels? I doubt it. And one of the things, Susan, I've been thinking a lot about as my companies grow is, because I think that's a lot of propaganda. You see a lot about to bring your dog to work and all this other stuff. But I think it's about how can you help your employees through problems? Can you give your employees the time? Because when you're 28 years old, you've got a set of problems that are much different than when you're 40 or even when you're coming right out of school. I got to ask this girl to marry me. I don't know where to get the ring. How do I talk to the dad? It's a million. That could be a month's worth of productivity, just somebody figuring out how to ask somebody to marry him. So, you watch the show Billions, like you wonder, should you have an in-house kind of like efficiency, effectiveness type person that everybody can go and talk to talk about life problems, life coach? Should you have a physical therapist in your office? Because when you get to 35 or 40, you try to keep yourself in shape. There's always something bothering you. And if you had a physical therapist right there to work out the kink in your neck or to realize your computer's not right, I'm thinking screw the damn food. Let the dog stay at home. I'll give you the vulnerability of taking the vacation days when you want, but I don't even think people want that because then it just gives them more time to worry about and think about their problems, which they don't have the solutions for. Let me help you with your physical problems, And let me help you with your mental problems, whatever they may be, because that's what's causing the biggest amount of pressure, anxiety that they're talking about that's at an all-time high. Imagine if I had somebody right in the office to help you on a day-to-day when you needed it, just to vent out or talk through a simple problem. Am I
Well,
crazy?
no, I love it. I would, me being my past life, I would say the food is freaking important. But the
It is.
other thing I would say,
But
I love.
they're not bringing healthy food in. There's bagels here, muffins. It's not like they're bringing anything healthy in.
Well, it depends what you're bringing. We won't even talk about that. But our friend Glenn Stearns, he did his
Yeah,
show, which was
I saw that.
freaking
Yeah, yeah.
ridiculous.
Amazing.
And he had, and it was Undercover Billionaire. If you're watching on YouTube or listening and you haven't seen it, you need to do this. So Glenn gets a group of team members to work their butts off without pay because they were so enraptured with the vision. And I've had Jesse Itzler's been on my show. I know you know Jesse. I've had
Love Jesse.
he's an
Can't get enough of him.
outstanding human. Like, I've had a bunch of people on, and we've all talked about what makes a great CEO. And hands down, it's that they can give a vision that people will follow, so that when they show up to work, they know they're part of the vision. How did Southwest turn it around? They made every one of their employees part owners, right? Starbucks, same thing, because we're talking about at Starbucks jobs that would normally be minimum wage, and suddenly the barista felt like, hey, I'm a part owner. That vision has got to be so central, because people will follow a visionary, right? Which
I
is
think
huge.
what people won't follow is a pessimist.
No, a
Nobody wants to
pessimist.
follow a pessimist. Like, if you don't have the positive energy and you're leading, you need to stay home, because
Yeah.
people want to follow an optimist, an opportunist. And I think in general, what I've learned from being a CEO, and as I take on a new group of, I hope, enthusiastic individuals, is either I'm selling today, right now, or I'm selling the future. When you start selling in between is when you start getting into trouble. And you talk about talent, retention. You want to keep people happy, sell them on the truth. And if the truth is today, like, we have an opportunity now, or if we can work really hard and there's no strategy, the future is going to look like this, and here's how you fit into the future. That's a cool sell too. But when you start getting into the middle of that, well, we're working on some stuff, no good.
Yeah.
And you see it in sports. You put a bunch of young rookies out there, people love it. The expectations aren't that high, but they know it's going to blossom and grow. Just like when you go out and you water your plants, you're not seeing much, but you see the progress.
Mhm.
Or you're like, wow, when that thing's just about to bloom. It's going to be beautiful. It could be any day now. It's when you get caught in the in-between part of the process, and you got to be careful with your energy when you're leading, because you can get very pessimistic with numbers and investors and people that are on you, and you got to make sure that you can kind of departmentalize that stuff. And I think that's where I got into trouble at my last gig, is that I had a lot of pressure coming from a lot of different people, and it started to wear me down. And then it starts wearing onto your people, and then you start losing them.
Yeah, it's huge and it's, as a leader, being an optimist isn't easy. And that's why, there's that great saying where you've got to fire yourself every night and hire yourself every morning and
I
connect with
love
the
that.
vision. Because if you're not connected with the vision, like, I'm building a startup right now at 47 in the tech sector. The first thing I did, I was like, I haven't coded since the early 90s. I enrolled in a program at MIT. I did what I needed to do to hold my own at the table. And I'm very clear about where the company is going, why we're going there. But again, every morning, I have to say, okay, Susan, you were fired last night. You're showing up employee day one, super keener, even though you're your own boss, right? It's huge. So this is the part of the show where you get to finish by asking me any question you want. So I don't know what you're going to ask me, but it could be anything.
Can I get two?
Of course.
I
Yeah.
think the first thing is I'd like to know what you did yesterday from an exercise and eating standpoint, because I know you're the healthiest human being I know. I want details.
Okay. I have a Peloton bike and I love my Peloton. So
Really?
yesterday I got up, I slept in a little bit, like 5 a.m., had some black coffee, prayer, meditation, came in my office, did a little work, snuggled with my 10-year-old. Then I got on the Peloton. I did a 45-minute ride. Every morning, if I'm doing weights, I'm at my home office, not the office today. I have a bunch of free weights and I watch CNBC and I trade stocks while I'm lifting weights. Then I had a meeting with a VC downtown Phoenix yesterday. So I hair, makeup, suited up. I had packed with me, Brandon, a greens drink. So it's an organic, non-GMO greens powder. I blended that up with some celery and some pH balanced water. I took that with me. I had vegan protein bars with me. I had shake ingredients with me. And so my day yesterday was a 16-hour day. And so I went, from meeting to meeting to meeting, came in my house, had a protein shake at about 5:15. I was suited up to go to this dinner with Waz. Got home at 10. Sometimes I usually fast
It's a
until
long day.
noon. Yeah, it's what hustlers do, right? I usually, now that I'm in my late 40s, I fast until noon, because when you fast that long, it causes cell regeneration, and a lot of people who are over 45 will find it's better for your metabolism. So I eat usually in an 8 to 10 hour window. And so I came in the house and Chris had made this delicious fish, and so I had some fish in organic Brussels sprouts and another protein bar. So that's what, and then I took a bunch of supplements yesterday. I probably took 30 vitamins. Yeah.
What's the last who's the last person that motivated you the most, and what was that motivation?
Oh, that's an amazing question. It was my son on Wednesday. So my son is on the autism spectrum. I coach his cross country team, and I have kids on the whole range of the spectrum on the team. And so I was giving them a pep talk, and I always say, kids, what's our team motto? And they say, a team is a family and a family is a team. And my son was going for a personal best on the course, and he ran so hard he threw up at the end. And I said, buddy, what was it? And he said, I was just hungry for it. I wanted it. And then he said, Mommy, you're the best coach ever. He's a high school senior, right? And he's just, sometimes kids on the spectrum emotionally, they're a little bit younger than they are physically. And I really thought deeply about, when was the last time I pushed myself so hard because I wanted something so badly that I would literally throw up. And when I was a professional athlete, there were often races that I won that I went straight through the finish line and I went and vomited in the woods or something. And so that was just 2 days ago.
Love that. Great story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Well, Brandon, I can't wait to see you next. I think I just have to come to New York. You and Jess Feldman and I are going to sit down and we'll do it on camera because it'll be hilarious.
I've got
Jess,
my studio set. Let's do it.
yeah, let's do it. Jess has his office at Midtown, and Jess and I, we did a show, and we threatened to do a show where we were trying different types of wines. So that will be our show. Maybe we'll play checkers. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Well, maybe we'll feed some homeless people.
I'd rather
Like
do that.
a beautiful steak dinner in a nice place.
I'd rather do that than play checkers against you. So if you're listening, and please go ahead to brandonsteiner.com and check out his website, his blog, follow him on social media. Let's get him up to 1.3 million, guys. If this show has been amazing, Brandon and I want a 5-star review on iTunes. We would love for you to forward the show, share it on your social. Even if you saw a clip of the show, head over to iTunes or wherever you're listening, Spotify, and download it. We love to hear your feedback. And if you do have feedback, or there's a guest you want to show, or you want to send some love to Brandon, just go over to susansly.com. We have it all, our chat bot there, and Brandon, I will make sure he gets it. So Brandon, thank you so much for being here. You're amazing.
Thank you.